Yeah. Good evening. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being live streamed to the Council's YouTube channel. Can I please remind members to stand when speaking? I would now like to ask Reverend Canon Darren Barlow to lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the past 10 days, we've marked the 73rd anniversary of a special event which continues to influence the life of this borough. The SS Empire Windrush arrived at Tilbury on the 21st of June 1948, carrying 493 passengers from Jamaica who were wishing to start a new life in the UK. Many of the passengers who disembarked the following day, the 22nd of June, were ex-servicemen who had served Britain during the Second World War. They were the first large group of West Indian immigrants to arrive in the UK after the war had ended. In 1948, the Windrush was en route from Australia to England via the Atlantic, docking in Kingston, Jamaica. An advert had appeared in a Jamaican newspaper offering cheap transport on the ship for anybody who wanted to come and work in the UK. So was the shortage of workforce. At that time, there were no immigration restrictions for citizens of one part of the British Empire moving to another. The arrival of the boat had an immediate impact upon the country, initially with a warm and positive response. However, their arrival also soon prompted outright racism and complaints from some members of Parliament, expressing concern that jobs would be lost. However, legislation controlling immigration was not passed until 1962. Those events of 73 years ago have many links with today's multicultural Thurrock. And so tonight we pause to remember these important events in both our local and national history. And we thank you for all those who have travelled from foreign lands to make their home within this borough. So let's pray. We thank you, O God, for our rich and diverse community in Thurrock, and we give thanks for the enrichment that this brings to our lives. We pray for harmony and mutual respect, and that your blessings would be upon us all. Amen.
Item 1, apologies for absence. I have received an apology from Councillors Kerrin and Salmons this evening. Are there any other apologies for absence? Councillor Adele.
Thank you, Mayor. I have Councillor Redshall, Councillor Churchman. Councillor Kelly is running extremely late and may not make the meeting, but may join us towards the end.
Right, thank you. Councillor Kent, is there any? No. Councillor? No. Item 2. I move that the minutes of the meeting of Council held on the 26th of May 2021 be approved as correct recorded. These minutes were sent to members as supplementary to the agenda. Is that seconded? Thank you. Is any member in disagreement with the accuracy of the minutes? No. The minutes are approved. Item 3, items of urgent business. I have not agreed to any urgent items of business. Item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest to be made? No. Item 5, announcement on behalf of the Mayor. I would like us all to take a moment to remember Thurrock's fallen in World War II. Iderton, Frederick G. Frost, Anthony C. And I'd just like to say a few words. I've had a very nice first month as Mayor. I've enjoyed it very much. I've visited 3 schools, attended afternoon tea with the carers, which was very nice indeed, and raised the flag for Armed Forces Day and raised the flag for Pride. month. On Saturday, I attended Windrush event at the Port of Tilbury, where there was an art exhibition remembering the people stepping off the Windrush boat in Tilbury. Thank you. Item 6, questions from members of the public. Oh, sorry, gone wrong. Councillor Gledhill, as leader of the council, do you wish to make any announcements?
I was going to say no, but yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, we are continuing to see an increase in the number of Thurrock residents testing positive for COVID-19. The numbers are thankfully small, but it is a worrying development nonetheless, as we've seen this before. We are monitoring these developments closely, but they show just how important it is that everyone takes up the offer of a vaccine. This offer has now been extended to all adults over the age of 18, and it's been great to see that over 95,000 people have received their first dose, and an incredible 68,473 residents their second dose. Even though vaccine take-up has been strong, we want to make sure that everyone takes up the opportunity to get protection, a vaccine that offers not only them and their loved ones wider protection, but also for that of the community. Last week, the walk-in vaccine centre was set up at North Stifford, and this weekend there'll be one at the Grays Medical Centre in the town centre between 8 and 8. So anyone who hasn't had either their first or is qualified for their second can pop along there and get it done on the day without an appointment. For specific updates, there were 4,437 tests taken the previous 7 days. The 7-day infection rate is 41.3 per 100,000, which means Thurrock now sits at 130 out of the 149 upper tier local authorities, where one is the highest infection rate and 149 is the other. We are creeping up, but unfortunately the rest of the nation is creeping up slightly faster. Something you may have forgotten, Madam Mayor, but on Friday we both attended the new rooftop terrace at Feast. It's absolutely fantastic to see this private investment coming to Grays and really stepping up a little bit. It also came the same day that we received an extra £540,000 to boost Grays High Street and make it safer. I would like to thank the Home Office for providing the funding and Essex Police Fire and Crime Commissioner for supporting the bid. This extra cash will go towards improving the CCTV and the lighting in the town centre and hopefully reducing crime as such. We are expecting to hear the announcement on how much funding Grays has secured for the new Towns Fund any day now, and that could bring up to another £25 million of additional funding to continue to redevelop Grays and manage the town centre board, which so far has done an absolutely fantastic job with their upfront money. Indeed, a separate board through Tilbury have done exactly the same, and it's really good to see that the government's investing, and indeed the community and local businesses are investing their time to make sure that these two towns are improved. It will also be great to see proposals Cabinet next week to ensure that the development of the underpass under the railway is one of the 2 priority capital projects, the other one being Stanford Hope Station finally being finished. So if we could turn back to Grays with this, plus the planning application going in for the state, we can really see at last Grays is going to be moving forward. And I really would like to hope all residents get behind this and really play their part. I'm going to point onto an enforcement issue, which some may have read in the local news. Our officers use their powers to seize a van that had been used as a series of fly tips in Tilbury. It was fortunate that someone pointed this out on social media, because I'm not on social media myself, and we managed to seize the vehicle, crush it and fine the owner £200. Had residents come forward with more information, we may have been able to secure a much stronger conviction against them and others that may have been helping them. So I've said this a number of times, the police and the council cannot do their job without residents reporting it to us. Now, Essex Police have improved their 101 service by adding in a live chat. The live chat can be anonymous. It's just as fast as posting up on social media. So all you need to do is to click on the Essex Police website. There's a small icon at the bottom saying live chat, and you will speak to an operator via text messages instantly. All that information goes towards forming a much greater picture of what's going on. And I'm going to come on to the reason why for that as well. It's not just fly tipping, it's all crime. So last week I met the new borough commander, and it was an absolutely great meeting. It really was. He's very, very proactive, a former beat cop for Thurrock, so he knows the area well, knows the people very well. And we both spoke about the nuisance quad bikes that we have across the whole of the borough. And the problem is people are, again, taking to social media and not reporting it to the council or to the police. If it's reported to them and they have the ability at the time, they will obviously try to intercept. But what was good is we worked on a plan. I'll be meeting them again later next month. I'm not going to go too much into the plan, but some really exciting ideas to try and bring this nuisance to a head. But in time between now and then, anyone catches this on video, anyone sees it, report it to the police, they will see what they can do at the time. If they can't do anything at the time, we'll try and take action afterwards. And so with that, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Item 6, questions from members of the public. Question 1 has been excluded. Sorry. Councillor Kent.
Madam Mayor, before we move on, we do usually at council meetings take a moment to remember former councillors who have died since the last meeting. People will know that Peter Harris, who represented both West Thurrock and Greys Thurrock on the council for, I think, what was it now, 9 years, sadly died a few weeks ago.
Can you hold on a minute? I can't hear you very well, to be honest. Sorry, John.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we generally remember former councillors who have died at our council meeting, and I think it's right that we note the death of Peter Harris, who served as councillor for both West Thurrock and Greys Thurrock for some years. Peter was kind of, like an awful lot of people that joined the council in Thurrock, he wasn't actually too much of a political animal. He really didn't like council meetings. He wasn't comfortable standing up and speaking, but what he was totally embedded in his community and a really good, hard-working and diligent ward councillor that enjoyed the sitting in a surgery on a Saturday morning and trying to resolve issues for people. I think it's right that we do take a moment to remember Peter and give our thoughts and sympathies to his wife, Kath, and his 3 children. I think it's also right that we note and mark the passing of Carmel Littleton, who served as our Director of Children's Services for some years. Carmel died this morning, which had been ill for some time. Carmel was an exceptional officer. She had an absolute passion and desire and commitment that every child, every young person would fulfil their full potential. And there was something that Carmel used to say, and that was deprivation can never be an excuse for a child not fulfilling their potential. For too long, Thurrock Council, under all shades of administration, had schools in Thurrock, especially primary schools, that were failing our children. When Carmel became the director responsible, fewer than 1 in 3 of our youngest children were attending schools that were rated as good or outstanding by Ofsted. By the time Carmel left, that was up to 96%, one of the fastest accelerated improvements anywhere in the country. And it is an absolute tribute to Carmel, and it will be Carmel's legacy, that she, with partners from schools, partners from the community, led that improvement. It was Carmel that was the force behind commissioning the Education Commission, beginning the Education Awards, setting up the Thurrock Education Alliance. Everybody who met Carmel was struck by her honesty, her drive, her commitment, her passion, and frankly, just what a kind person Carmel was. I think all of those who knew her will miss her greatly. Thurrock's in a much better place for Carmel Littleton having been a senior member here. I, for one, will miss her greatly, and I know that the education community in Thurrock will too.
Thank you. Councillor Coxall.
I just want to echo John's comments here. Carmel was an absolute diamond, I would say, to work for, and made a transformational to our education here. And I think the Education Awards are a lasting legacy to her of what she did there, and about bringing all sides of the community, all political persuasions into her. And without her, there is a generation of children here who owe a debt of honour to her for the work that she did in the years she was here. And I'm really shocked and deeply saddened to hear that news. I knew she was poorly.
Thank you. Councillor Giddle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think everything's really good that's been said already.
About Carmel. She was absolutely fantastic. There was no politics in this. It was about one set of the community, children. It was first thing to last thing at night. She was approachable. She did not just what she could, she went above and beyond at every single step. And Councillor Kent is right. Yeah, she took over an education department that we were closing schools because we couldn't improve them as a local authority, irrespective of political parties, nothing to do with the politics. And she turned that around. And as I said, I thought it was not quite 96, but yeah, it's a tribute to someone's dedication to only wait until she gets to the point of near perfection before deciding to take her skills and move on elsewhere. And I'm also going to touch on with Peter Harris. I was completely unaware that Peter had died. Peter lived in the road opposite me for a number of years when I was first a councillor. We used to quite often walk home from full council and have a chat. It was never about politics, it was never about football, because I understand very little about the latter, and he didn't want to talk about the first, but an absolute gentleman. He really was. He made all members, irrespective of politics again, feel welcome, and he will be missed. It will certainly be missed by myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rockenhard.
Yeah, I also am very shocked to hear that comment passed. I had a privilege of working with her when I held the portfolio for Children's Services. I know Carmen was very professional, very supportive, and she had full interest of the children at heart. So I do wish our family, God's comfort for our family at this very sad time. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Questions. Item 6, questions from members of the public. Question 1 has been excluded from the agenda this evening, as this had been submitted by a non-Thurrock resident. I will now proceed to question 2 from Mr. Perrin to Councillor Mainley. Mr. Perrin, please read out your question as set out on page 9 of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you tell me the Council's current policy regarding parking of vehicles on pavements and grass verges?
Councillor Mainley, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Mr. Perrin, for your question. It certainly feels like normality is returning when we can receive and answer questions from Mr. Perrin, and it's most welcome. I know that pavement parking and verge parking is an issue of concern to Mr. Perrin, and indeed it is many residents in the borough. But I think I'd be stretching it if I said we had a policy around that per se. And the reason I say that is because neither pavement parking or verge parking by themselves are decriminalised or enforceable activities that the council can take action in relation to. Pavement parking is a matter for the police. If it causes an obstruction, and the police have the powers to intervene. The same applies to verge parking. In terms of what we can do as a council, as I say, we can't directly enforce against that, but if somebody's parking on a walkway or a grass verge, alongside which there are other restrictions such as double yellow lines, we can ticket the vehicle. We can introduce physical measures like bollards or tree planting in isolated cases, and we do that. But as I say, we can't really have a policy around something we don't have direct powers of intervention in relation to. So I don't want Mr. Perrin to think that his concerns, I know he hasn't expressed them yet, but he has in the past. I don't want him to think that his concerns, we're deaf to his concerns, but unfortunately until the government does give us more direct powers of intervention, we are very limited. And as I say, we don't therefore have a policy as such. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Perrin, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, but I'm afraid I didn't hear one word of Councillor Mainey's reply, so therefore I can only ask a supplementary question, which is, this is not the first time I have asked the Council about the problems created by vehicles being parked on pavements and grass verges. Somehow I feel it will not be the last. I understand there may be a special need for vehicles to park on pavements, but the safety of pedestrians must override the special need. With regard to drivers parking their vehicles on grass verges, and green spaces, they do so simply because they can. The result of this antisocial behaviour is unsightly mud patches in winter and bare patches in summer. My question is, will the council commit to protecting grass verges and green spaces, or does it intend to tarmac them all and turn them into parking spaces? These areas cannot sensibly be both grass verges and parking spaces.
I just hope that Mr. Perrin can hear me. What I said in my first answer is that the council has very limited powers of intervention. The legislation that exists around pavement parking and verge parking doesn't allow the council to directly enforce against that activity. I can assure you that the council won't be tarmacking over every grass verge because we don't have the money to do it. But even if we did, you're not preaching to the I've said it before and I'll say it again. I regard verge parking specifically as a form of antisocial behaviour. I simply do. I don't think that, I understand that in many roads there are parking pressures and people think they have no alternative, but I think if you actually look carefully, there are rarely any excuses for verge parking. Notwithstanding what I've just said, that there are not direct powers available to the council allowing us to intervene, I'd be lying that I hadn't been in frank conversation with officers, because it's my personal and unprofessional view that although there aren't directly legislative provisions that allow us to enforce against verge parking, there are laws out there that could be used to tackle it in certain circumstances. And I'm speaking very carefully because, as I say, sometimes there's been a difference of opinion between myself and officers. Sometimes they've come round to my way of thinking. All I can say to you is because I care so much about it, I am looking, as I say, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a highways engineer, but as a lay person, as a councillor, I'm looking at what I think is out there in terms of legislative provisions, and my personal view is there are things we could do. All I can say is watch this space. It won't be easy because, as I say, if there are laws we could utilise, they are not specifically in relation to verge parking or pavement parking, but they may be able to be used in a way that cover that activity in certain circumstances. I hope and pray, the government keeps making noises, Madam Mayor, that they are going to extend powers to local authorities to actually enable us to directly enforce. If they did, I for one would want Thurrock to utilise those, be one of the first councils to utilise those. So, through fear of speaking too much, all I will say to you again is, although we don't have specific powers of intervention, there may be things we can do. I personally think we can. We're looking at it, and if we can act in certain circumstances, it won't be a blanket approach, but if we can act in certain cases, I would very, very, very much encourage and support that kind of intervention as portfolio holder. Thank you, Madam.
Right, we're on. Right, I'll start again. Item 7, petitions from members of the public and councillors. Please be advised that in accordance with the council's petition scheme, one notice of petition has been received. Can I ask Councillor Byrne? I wasn't really up for having this meeting here, to be honest, so I did try to get somewhere else, but unfortunately it didn't work out, so we are where we are. So I'm trying to do my best. I can't hear half the things what are being said, and obviously you can't hear me half the time, so it's not too good. But anyway, Councillor Byrne, would you like to present your petition or pass it? Thank you. I think Jenny will collect the actual petition later.
Yes, I've been asked to present this petition on behalf of our care workers, our residents, who say there is a need and desire to keep Kynet. Before shout put, I'm presenting 1250 today. I've got 50 coming, and we've got the other 200 we need to put the 1500 in, so it goes to debate. Thank you.
Update report in respect of those petitions presented at the council and council offices. This report can be found on pages 11 to 12 of the agenda and is information on the status of petitions handed in at the council office meetings and council offices. Item 9, appointments to committees and outside bodies, statutory and other panels. Councillor Gallagher, do you wish to make any changes to the appointments previously made?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And of course, on your earlier subject, you do, of course, if I'm sure the monitoring officer will confirm, you do have the right to adjourn this meeting if you don't feel it can be conducted in good order. Just an option. I do have some changes. Councillor Rigby, who's currently a substitute on corporate parenting, to replace Councillor Little, who's moving off the meeting. On outside bodies, Councillor Howden to be on the William Palmer Trust, and obviously we have 2 items later that will put other members on committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clint, do you wish to make any changes to the appointments previously made? Councillor Byrne, do you wish to make any changes to appointments? No, thank you. Councillor Massey, do you wish to make any changes to appointments previously made? No, thank you. Okay. Is any member in disagreement with the nominations made? No. Okay. Item 10, overview and scrutiny annual report. The next item is the overview and scrutiny report for 2020 and 2021 and can be found on pages 13 to 32 of the agenda. Does any member wish to speak? Councillor Little, you can main.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present last year's report from the Corporate Overview and Scrutiny, which was so skillfully chaired by Councillor Gerrish, who, as you all know, is sadly not a councillor anymore, and his non-neutral, non-political, inquisitive chairmanship of corporate ONS was like a breath of fresh air. Those of you who know me well and have worked with me previously will know I have a similar way of working. There was quite a lot of diverse topics that this committee looked at, from local fibre network being delivered to something I myself always champion, community forums, of which I am blessed in having 3 in the Orsett ward, so I recognise their importance. I hope to continue with this good work that Councillor Gerrish chaired, as I believe overview and scrutiny of the council is one of the most important roles of council members. And for the record, I would like to thank all those who served on this committee, and again, thank Councillor Gerrish for his very hard work. Thank you.
Is there any other members wishing to speak? No? Thank you. Do members note the recommendation in the report? Item 11, response to the motion at full council on the 27th of January 2021, request for committee. Councillor Gladwell, would you please introduce the report that can be found on pages 33 to 44?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present this report, which sees the formation of a formal committee which encompasses some of the areas of grave concerns, but often grave concerns to the public only when tragedy happens. The new Hidden and Extreme Harms Prevention Committee brings together the government's Prevent agenda, which was first introduced in 2005, revisited in 2011, and then created under its current form under the 2015 Counter-Terrorism and Security Act, was set up to prevent people being drawn into terrorism and extremism. This doesn't just mean stopping residents jumping on a plane, flying to training camps abroad and returning to commit atrocities. It also is to stop residents getting drawn into ideology that could eventually lead to committing terrorist acts. The Council has had a working group for some time, but like the Corporate Parenting Working Group, is now to be formed into a formal Committee of Council. Now, we could have just stopped there, of course, but as we know, tragically, a few years ago, we had 31 Vietnamese citizens suffocate in the back of a vehicle that brought a tragedy that really did rock both nations.
Madam Mayor. No, I'm sorry, and Councillor Gledhill's already raised it. The acoustics aren't working. I'm getting messages from people that are trying to watch on YouTube. They can't see, it's too dark. There's no volume, they can't hear what's going on. I suggest that we do adjourn for a short time to see if we can work out these technical difficulties.
Yeah.
The meeting is descending into a farce.
Okay, I agree.
Madam Mayor, can I second that? My phone's been beeping, I've been ignoring it, but I've had a couple of very similar requests from inside and outside the chamber.
Should we adjourn for 5 minutes? Come. 10 minutes then. Thank you.
Testing 1 2 2 1 2. 2 2 1 2. Testing 1 2.
I can't. I was struggling to hear you, to be honest. Yeah.
seats, please. Councillors, could I ask you to return to your seats, please, if possible? Thank you. Chamber, I appreciate that it's very unusual for me to speak, and I wouldn't normally do so, but the Mayor has asked me if I would convey what we're going to do this evening, because it's a little bit unusual.
Why is that dropping out?
So,
What is going on?
Turn the volume up.
It's on and off.
It's on and off. Is that any better? I'm really sorry. I could probably put it down and shout, which might be a little bit better. So this evening, I apologise for the unfortunate hearing, and the team here at the theatre have worked really hard, so please bear with them. For the rest of this evening, the Mayor has asked and agreed with the group leaders that we take items 11 and 12 and just go straight to whether or not the Chamber agrees them. The Mayor has then asked me post that to adjourn the meeting tonight. So the rest of the agenda stands until the point at which the meeting is reset. At the moment, we're looking to reset that on the 21st of July, and we will move the council meeting on the 21st of July to the following Wednesday, the 28th of July. Now, of course, that remains subject to the government announcement on the 19th of July. And we will keep you updated if any of that changes. So the Constitution will also be clear around the questions for the full next council meeting on the 28th of July. And again, we will open up the questions for the meeting tomorrow in line with normal process. So whilst we would normally close a meeting, which would then lead to the questions opening, the Constitution allows flexibility, and in consultation with the Mayor and the group leaders, they've also agreed that. So to be clear, from tomorrow morning, you will be able to submit questions for Council on the 28th of July. So if all of that is clear, I'd like to move through Councillor Gledhill, the two reports at items 11 and 12 of your agenda, and ask if you are in agreement with the recommendations. Thank you. I will now, through the Mayor, move that the meeting this evening is adjourned in line with the relevant constitution point until a future meeting, hopefully on Wednesday, the 21st of July, 7 o'clock, back in the council chamber. Thank you again for your patience this evening. We will finish the meeting at the adjourn point now. Thank you.